Alright, Dragon Empire Destined 1 is here, this time facing off against the CEO, and Vice CEO going up against him, along with some Blitz support, so let's begin. So we start off with Blitz Server Cantina, which is a grade 2 with 10k power and the skill is auto when placed on Guardian. If your order zone has 3 or more products, cost energy plus 3, shield plus 20k in the end of battle. This is not too hard with Welstra, especially now, but I think there might be better cards than doing this, like just overall more operating. But you can always tech this in if you wish, especially since you are going to be running a lot of order cards. Next, Blitz Publicus Felatina, which is grade 1 with k power and the skill is auto. When discarded from hand during the ride phase or main phase, if you have at least a grade 3 Welstra Vanguard, call this to rearguard. This is really helpful to basically reoccur some of your resources, especially since the deck does lack boosters, since it is brand gate and you're going to be playing a lot of set orders in this deck, so just having a way to reoccur is just very helpful. But the second skill is the main skill where act rearguard once per turn. If you have at least a grade 3 Welstra Vanguard, cost energy blast 4, choose a product with grade less than or equal to your opponent's Vanguard's grade and operate it. And the cost of your product's original cost ability is reduced by 1 counter blast. Once again, just another way for you to operate, but the key point is that you can also reduce the cost of the product card, which is of course going to be very helpful because more resources for you to use. Overall, pretty good new support. And now to the new Destined 1 of Scale ride line. Here's the starter, Garura Dragon. Yes, it's dragons with guns. It might be similar to Kagero or even Tachikaze theme if you want to say that. In which we go to Rock and Roll for Dragon, which is the grade 1 with k power and the skill is auto when rode upon by Gatling Goldguard Dragon. You may call this to rearguard, and if you call it, soul charge 1. Ride the grade 2 to call this, so it's nothing different to most ride lines. But the second skill is the unique skill where overcharge. Count rearguard. When this card is chosen by the ability of your at least grade 3 Aelquilibra, this unit gets plus 10k power. Overcharge is a type of ability where when it's chosen by your main grade 3 Vanguard, ability activates. So it's really nothing special there. It's just there as a keyword, so it's just locked to keyword abilities. In which we go to Gatling Kone Dragon, which is the grade 2 with 10k power and the skill is auto when rode upon by at least a grade 3 Aelquilibra. Look at top 3 cards of the deck to choose up to 1 grade 3 or less cards from among them, reveal it and put it to your hand. Of course, put the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order. If you reveal a card with the overcharge ability, you may soul charge 1. Overall, just pretty good since it does basically set up your play. In which we go to the grade 3 or 13k power, Destined 1 of Scales Aelquilibra, which has the skill Act Vanguard once per turn, cost Soul Blast 2, choose 3 or more rear guards, and they get plus 5k power. If you choose at least 2 with the overcharge ability, you draw a card and this card goes plus 10k power. So basically this is just the way to activate overcharge, and luckily the choosing doesn't really lock you from overcharging, so it's also very nice that you could just pick any of your generic units for plus 5k power just in case you need. Although as you can tell already, it is a bit Soul Blast heavy because this is Soul Blast 2. But anyway, the Divine skill, it's time to blast away with Act Vanguard. When your opponent's Vanguard has at least a grade 3, cost counter blast 1, choose 2 of your rear guards and they get plus 5k power, thus activate more overcharge. And then if your opponent's damage zone has 4 or less cards, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and deal 1 damage. The power increase of the trigger effect revealed from this is minus 10k. Basically, further overcharging and basically trying to finish off the game since you are blasting away your opponent for 1 damage, and also makes your opponent loses the trigger power, which is also pretty nice. But overall, it's just nothing but basically power. In which we go to the support cards with Drag Ritter Feliza, which is a grade 1 with k power and the skill is overcharge, auto rearguard. When this card boosts, if this card was chosen by your at least grade 3 Aelquilibra, this unit gets plus 10k power in the end of the battle, and then at the end of the battle, if you do not countercharge this turn, cost retire this unit to countercharge 1. This is obviously helpful because any type of countercharging is always very nice. And also, spoiler, you can revive this from the drop zone through another card. And then we go to Panzerwreck Dragon, which is a grade 3 with 13k power and the skill is overcharge, auto rearguard. When this card attacks, if it was chosen by at least a grade 3 Aelquilibra, costs energy blast 3, this unit gets plus 15k power in the battle, and at the end of the battle, draw a card and retire this unit. This is of course very helpful since it does research the draw and just more high power attacks. And then Drag Ritter Eldol, which is a grade 1 with k power and the skill is auto. When placed on rearguard, if you have at least 2 units with the overcharge ability, costs counterblast 1, draw a card, and soul charge 1. This deck doesn't really use as much counterblast compared to soul, so it is a nice trade-off. And you still get a draw on top of it, so it's also nice. And then the second skill is overcharge, count rearguard when chosen by at least a grade 3 Aelquilibra, plus 10k, but this is more so here for the soul charge. And then Drag Raider Sahub, which is great too with taking part on the skills. Count rearguard during your turn if you have at least 3 or more units with overcharge plus 5k. Being a 15k attacker on its own, it's not too bad. It just needs a full field technically. But anyway, second skill, overcharge, auto rearguard once per turn. When your Vanguard attacks at least a grade 3 or greater unit, and this unit was chosen for the ability for the Aelquilibra, cost energy box 3, stand this unit, and this card was tanky pounding in turn. Of course, we must have the re-standing rearguard, and being a 15k attacker on the first attack and 25k attacker on the second attack, that's pretty good. Although keep in mind about your energy cost now, since you are using quite a bit of energy, especially if you have 2 copies of these in the front row. And finally, to equalize the scales of the world, which is a grade 3 normal order, and you play it by counterblasting 1 while your Vanguard is Aelquilibra. Choose up to 2 grade 3 or less cards with different names with the overcharge ability from the drop zone and call them the rearguard. Once again, another Destined one having its own dedicated order card. And in this one's case, it's research from the drop zone, except it's 2 cards instead of 1 compared to Levy Dress. And you do have a lot of cards that will be going to the drop zone from the overcharge ability, so just being able to reoccur them is pretty nice. So that's it for the new Welstra support along with the Destined 1 of Scales. What do you guys think of them? Overall pretty cool, especially the idea of Destined 1 of Scales basically overcharging his own units to balance everything with his own team. And I also like the weapon themes with it. Really reminds me a bit of Kagero plus Tachikaze. And being a polar opposite to Welstra, that's also pretty cool. But on that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.